Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to install Postgres and pgAdmin using Docker. I'll be using Mac for installation and the installation process is same for Linux and Windows machines as well. Using Docker is the most simplest way to install Postgres and pgAdmin. I'll be walking you through the steps one by one so that you understand why we are doing all these steps. And at the end, I will tell you how to avoid all these steps and run everything using a single command. Before we start with the installation process, let us make sure that we don't have any standalone installation of Postgres in your laptop because it might cause some conflicts or issues. So just run Postgres -v to check if you have any standalone Postgres installed in your laptop. If you have any standalone version installed, you can stop it or just uninstall it. As we are going to use Docker for our installation, you need to have Docker in your laptop. If you don't have Docker already, just go to docker.com and download the Docker desktop that suits your laptop. So I'm using Mac Apple Silicon, so I downloaded this Apple Silicon. And once you download, just open the downloaded file. It will install Docker in your laptop. The installation process is pretty straightforward. Once you have installed Docker, you can check Docker version to see if Docker is installed perfectly or not. So it will display you the version of Docker that you have installed. I am using 27.4 Docker version. And also you need to have this Docker running in your background. So you can just run open -a Docker to open the Docker and it will be running in your background. Once the Docker is opened and running, you will see this Docker icon here. And the next step is I'll create a directory in my current working directory. So I'll call this directory as PostgresDB. I'm creating the directory to keep the files organized, and we will be using this directory for storing all your database objects and files so that everything is in one place. And I will switch to this new directory. Once we are in this directory, I will tell you commands that we need to run to start Postgres and pgAdmin using Docker. So these are going to be the full steps that we are going to follow to start Postgres and PGDB. So before we start Postgres and PGDB, let's understand one thing. Postgres will be running in one container and pgAdmin will be running in another container. So both of them are different containers. And we will be accessing Postgres database from pgAdmin. So as both of them are in different containers, we have to make sure that both of them are connected to the same network. I mean the same Docker network so that you can access one container from the other container. So we need to create a network for starting both of them from the same network. And the command to create a network is docker network create and followed by the network name. So it has created the network. And the next step is to just run this command so that your Postgres database will be running in your laptop as a Docker container. Let me walk you through some of the keys that we used in this command. The command says docker run -it. -it stands for starting the container as a interactive terminal. So the image will be loaded into your laptop and it will open a bash shell on that image. And the name is going to be the name of your container. So once the container is downloaded, it will be renamed as pgdb. And -e is used to provide environment variables. So for making a connection to Postgres, we need an username, password, and database name. So the database name can be anything of your choice. -v is used for volume mounting. So when we use -v, it creates a connection between the directory in your container with the directory in your host machine. Host machine is your laptop. So when this container is running and you create your database tables and any other objects in your Postgres, so all of that will be stored at this location inside your container. But here we are mounting this volume to your host machine. Whatever that is stored in this location in your container will be physically located in this location in your laptop. So -p is used for port mapping. So Postgres will be running on port 5432. So this 5432 is the port in your Docker container, and we are mapping the port 5432 in your Docker container to port 5432 in your host machine so that you can use the same port in your host machine to connect to the Postgres database. And this network flag is used to specify which Docker network a container should be connected to when it starts, allowing you to control which other containers it can directly communicate with by placing them on the same network. And the image that we are going to use is Postgres 14. And you just need to take this command and run it in your terminal. So as the Docker image is not already present, it will download that image from Docker Hub and it will start your database. So it says that database is ready to accept connections. So that's it. Your Postgres database is running in your laptop as a new container. Now we have to start another container for running pgAdmin. For that, I will open a new terminal, and the command for pgAdmin is going to be this one. So it has very similar keys. The name is going to be pgAdmin. The port mapping is going to be 80 and 8080. So pgAdmin will be running in port 80 in your container. We are mapping that to port 8080 in your laptop, and minus e is used to set the environment variable. So the default email and default password for making a connection to pgAdmin is this one, admin@admin.com, and root. And the network is going to be the same network that we have used for Postgres, and the image that we are going to use is pgadmin 4. So you just need to take this command and run it in your terminal. So it will download this container and run it. So once you have both Postgres and pgadmin running in your laptop, you can go to browser and go to this localhost 8080, and it will open this pgadmin, and you need to log into this pgadmin to be able to use it. So the credentials of this pgAdmin would be the credentials that you have provided here. So admin@admin.com is going to be the username, and root is going to be the password. And you just need to click on login, and it opens your pgAdmin console. So once you are inside the console, you need to make a connection to the Postgres database. For making a connection, you can click on add server and give a name for your server as anything of your choice. I am giving local docker, and you need to provide the connection parameters. So the host name or address is going to be pgdb, because this is the name that we are providing for your first container. So you need to provide this pgdb, and the username is root, and password is going to be root. So the username is going to be root, and password is again root. You just leave this maintenance database as Postgres, and you can also save your password for reconnecting easily next time. So once you click on that, your database is opened on your left. So it shows that it has created this my first database for you, and for running any queries on this database. And you can open the query tool here and run your database queries here. For example, I want to create a table and insert some data. I can run these queries, and you will have a run button here. If you use this run button, it will run everything in the script, and if you use this run button with one symbol here, it will execute only the selected queries. Continue. So it has ran these queries. Now you can run your select queries. So you are now able to use your database. Basically, this is how we set up pgAdmin and Postgres using Docker. So this is the simplest way of setting up anything, and I will be providing all these commands in the description below. So now we have executed multiple steps, right? Step 1, creating a network, and step 2 is to run the Postgres database container, and step 3 is to run this pgAdmin container. So we can put everything in a single file and run it very simply by using a single command, that is by creating a docker compose file. So I will tell you how to create this docker compose file and use it. But before that, let us try to know how do we close this ongoing containers. So you can just use Ctrl C for closing this, and for closing the other one, you can just use Ctrl C here as well. So you have closed both of them, but you have to stop these containers as well. For that, you can run docker stop followed by the name of the two containers that you are trying to stop. So both of the containers are now stopped. Finally, we are going to create this docker compose.yaml file. I'll clear everything, and I will use touch to create docker compose.yaml file. So once this file is created, I will open this file. So my docker compose.yaml file is currently empty. Basically, you need to write your configuration for your docker here, so that whenever you run this file, it is going to start the containers that you wanted to start. So for that, we will use something called services, and the services that we need for this purpose are, one is pgdb and the other one is pgadmin. These are the two services that we are going to start, and we need to provide the configuration for the service here and the configuration for pgadmin service here. So you just need to copy this. So the configuration contains the name of the image, and the container name is pgdb. You can give any name of your choice, and the environment variables here. So the username, password, and the database name, and the volumes for doing the volume mounting, and the port for port mapping. The configuration for this pgAdmin is going to be this. We need to provide the image name, container name, environment variables, and port. Here we did not provide any network option like here, right? Here we are using this network flag, but here we are not using any network flag. because as all of these are in a single file, so Docker takes care of creating the network for you. And come back to terminal and see your Docker images by running Docker ps. So it is showing that there is no containers running, and you can also use Docker ps minus a for checking the containers that are not running. So you have two containers, pgAdmin and pgdb, which are present but not running. So as this file is going to create these containers again, you don't need these containers, so you can just go ahead and remove these containers. So Docker remove pgAdmin pgdb, so this will remove your containers. Now when you run Docker ps minus a, it will show that there are no containers running. Now the next step is I will just make sure that my Docker compose file is present here. And to start everything, now if you go back to terminal here and reload this, it says it cannot connect to the server because we have stopped everything and there is nothing running in the background. For starting Postgres and pgAdmin in a single command, you have to make sure that you are inside the folder where you have this Docker compose file, and inside the folder you need to run Docker compose up. So this Docker compose up will run your Docker. Let me just run this. So it will start both your Postgres. It will create a pgAdmin container, it will create a pgdb container, and it is attaching pgAdmin and pgdb, so that you will be now able to access your database by going to localhost again. So you can provide your email password as per the configuration that you have provided here and log into your database. And I'll tell you one more thing. So as you have executed these things, it keeps on sending you logs, but you will not be able to use this terminal. So the terminal is blocked now. So for that, I'll just stop this. So I'll use this Control C to stop, and I'll create this skin. And instead of this Docker Compose up, I will use Docker Compose up in a detached mode, so that it will detach the terminal for usage. So if you use -d for running it, it will start your containers and it will allow you to use your terminal for any of your purposes. And to stop these containers, you can just run Docker compose down, so that it will stop and remove these containers. So it says that it is removing this network also, which is Postgres DB default. This is the network that it created to connect these two, pgAdmin and pgdb. And let us start our containers again and check if we are able to log in. You can go here and refresh this and provide your credentials and login. So you'll see that the server is lost because we have removed all the images that we have created in step 1 and step 2, and we have created everything using Docker Compose. So you can go and add your server again. So it's going to be one time task, so you need not add your server every time, but as we have removed our old containers, we are doing this again. So it's going to be pgdb, username is going to be root, password is root, save password. So we have our databases, my first database here, and you can access your schemas and you can access all your tables here. Also you can go to your query tool from here and run your SQL queries from here. So I'll again, so this is how we install Postgres and pgAdmin using Docker. So we have seen how to run this Docker Compose if we are in the same directory as your Docker Compose file. So if I just clear this, if I do ls, so I have this Docker Compose file here. So what if I change this directory? I am moving away from this directory, but if I run this Docker Compose up -d, it says that there is no configuration file provided. In this case, I can pass the path to my file. So I can just use Docker Compose followed by the file path. The file path is PostgreSQL, and this is going to be my file path, and along with that I will provide up and -d, so that it will look for this file path and it will start the Docker Compose based on the configuration that is present in this file. And again, for making this down, you can just use this Docker Compose -f and down. -f is basically to provide the file path where our Docker Compose is located. So in the earlier scenario, Docker Compose is already located in the directory where we are running the command. But now, as this file is not present in the directory, we can provide the file path as well if we want to run Docker Compose from a different directory. So this is how we install Postgres and pgAdmin using Docker.